morning, Brenda. How you doing?
Oh, I'm good, thank you. I had a bit of a late night last night. I was kind of getting in the work zone. But yeah, no, I'm really good this morning. The sun is shining, which is always a great start. How about
And your
you?
lipstick matches your wallpaper, so there's no better, you can't get better than that in life.
I chose it specially, you know.
So yeah, I'm really good. I'm feeling motivated today. It's a daily discovery. When I open my eyes, do I feel motivated, or am I just going to sit and start wondering if it's too early for wine at about 10:30 in the morning? So yeah, there's no way I know it's going to be.
My favorite thing in the morning is like scrolling through Instagram and then wondering where an hour went. So I'm like, yeah, I haven't done that this morning yet. I'll have to save that hour of pissing around
for yourself, Leah. So I was going to ask you about, because I know like we're in networking stuff together all the time, and one of the things that you always mention is that you have like a bit of a hurdle to get over when people need your help, because women especially, as it's always us that feel guilty saying that they've got any problem with their child, or that they need any help, or and I kind of encounter the woman guilt thing all the time as well. So
well, yeah, because you must have it for even people investing in themselves. Do you know? And I think it's something that we don't do enough as women on things that would actually make a real difference. You know, so we invest a lot in sometimes our physical health, you know, whether we join a gym or we you know, or we buy a new lipstick that matches our wallpaper, or or all of that, you know. So we kind of have got that nailed in certain ways, but actually investing in some, you know, talking to someone about our mental health, or how we can better do our business, or you know, how we can better time management, all these things. I think we don't think we're necessarily worthy of putting the time and effort into those particular things, which is a shame. And I suppose, I don't know, do you think men maybe don't do it or don't need it in the same way? So maybe it's just not something we recognize as a need. I don't know. But yeah, in terms of reaching out for help on anything parenting wise, there is a huge amount of mum guilt, and then there's an awful lot of helpful advice out there, and then there's always, on every group, there's a mummy martyr. And you know, they drive me crazy, because that works for you, that's great, but don't make everyone else feel crap because you're holding up the fort for mummies, because you know, basically your physical, emotional, mental health has to go down the pan because you give up everything when you have a child, which is not really, no, I don't feel it's how it should be, but that's kind of my thing. So
I don't actually encounter it that much, because when people have it and they're not willing to invest in themselves because they have it, they never get to me. So I don't actually see it the way you would think. Whereas I think people with you, because sleep is such a big problem, probably get to you, and then that maybe draws them back a bit, because it's not the same. Exactly what you said, people join gyms and stuff, but they don't look after themselves. So with you, it's their child, so they'll get to you, and maybe the guilt and the embarrassment and the shame or whatever stops them. With me, they just don't get as far as even talking to someone about, if we all treated our cars the way women treat themselves in the main, there'd be no cars on the road. They'd all be lying abandoned, broken at the side of the street.
Well, that's it. Yeah. And I think parents, they seem to think it's all about sacrifice, and it's one or the other. You know, it's either you give up everything to be a parent, you know, and any sense of self, any self-care, all of that goes out the window to meet your child's needs. And actually, you're only going to meet your child's needs if you're meeting your own first. Is that whole analogy of being on an aeroplane and fitting your own face mask before you fit somebody else? You know, so how can you show up your best self and give your best parenting when you have had 3 minutes sleep all night? It's just not we all know it ourselves. We just don't have it in us to be our best if we've not had enough sleep. So, and also life is so different these days. And I'm not just talking about the thing we're not supposed to talk about, but just in general, there's so much more pressure on women in general. You know, they do. And when I say they don't have to work, or they have to work, or they want to work, you know, and that's a whole thing as well. You know, the whole, you want to go back to work, you know, and that can be, you know, you can feel guilty about that sometimes, and sometimes it's.
Don't you think it's equal the other side? There's people, the number of people that I'll say, oh, what do you do? And they go, I'm just a mum. And you're like, what? You're not just a mum. My mum's like about 97 different things. But so I think it comes from the fact, and I think the reason men don't have it as badly is most advertising is aimed at women, especially if it's anything to do with family stuff. It's normally, even though there are plenty of single parent dads out there, and dads that have adopted and don't have a female partner, it's mainly aimed at women. And the way advertising works is, you should want this because you're not good enough if you don't have it. And then, of course, if you can't afford it, you feel guilty because that advert has told you that you're not good enough if you don't have it, and you don't have it. So therefore, you're not good enough, and then you feel really crap.
Yeah. Or you're not doing the right thing. You know, you need to have this product for your baby, or you're a crap parent. You know, there's a whole lot of that. But then that comes on every side. You know, there's there's the ones that if you give them too much, you're spoiling them. If you don't give them enough, you're not, you know, it's just, and I think, do you know what, for me though, I think is that a lot of mums especially lose their sort of internal compass and their internal confidence because there's all this stuff going around, you know, outside. And I know we're not supposed to talk about our work and stuff, but like the way I work is very much to say to parents, to give them back the power and say, you're the parent, you know what's best, and you know, go with your gut type thing, because I think that so many get so confused, and then the guilt kicks in because they kind of don't feel they know best, and that drives me crazy.
And people are probably seeing stuff on the internet that's saying this is how you get your child to sleep, but then there's so many different, well, there are no two children that are the same, so how can one method be the method that makes every child sleep? And then they try that and then it doesn't work, and then they feel worse, and then they feel worse, and it's just a never ending flipping circle. I know I felt horrible a couple of weeks. I had a massive case of mummy guilt because the Easter holidays were over, and they were meant to be back to homeschooling, and it was Tuesday before I realized. And my daughter was just like, Mum, she's 13, so she was like, Mum, it's fine. I was back on my work and I was doing my work yesterday. And I felt absolutely terrible. But it's just thinking to yourself, do you know what? In the grander scheme of things, my judge is, was she harmed in any way, whether physical or mental, by it? No. She just went, oh, for God's sake, Mum, you're so dopey. And that was it. But
you know, you should actually turn that around. You've raised a 13-year-old child that's conscientious about achieving her work goals, her school goals, you know, and the fact that she's got to 13 and you don't need to stand over her, you don't need to force her, you don't need to poke her every 5 minutes to do her work. Actually, that's, you know, not a guilt moment. Well, a lot of our guilt moments are actually moments of realization about something. So like you do that a lot with your child. You think, oh my God, I forgot to give them this, or I forgot to take them there, or I forgot to tell them this. And yet life went on and the child maybe didn't need it or did it themselves or whatever it was. Actually, realization should be, I've actually done something really good to get to the point where I don't have to feel guilty about these things. So I think sometimes you just need to, or if you've got a guilt that something hasn't happened, then turn it into changing a routine or make it a positive thing. Don't dwell on what has happened, because you can't change it. You can only learn. We all learn it all the time as parents. So I had a bit of a moment. So my daughter is, my eldest is 8 now, and because they live half the time with their with their dad, we did get them mobile phones, and it just means that they can chat to me and phone me whenever they want to, and we can have the big how old a kid should be when they have a phone debate some other time. But she has this phone, and I was letting her have it in her room at bedtime to listen to stories. Now, I'd said to her quite clearly, you know, it's for stories and it's for your alarm in the morning, and that's it. But she's got a friend who's only a year older, only 9, but who's still on her phone at like 11 o'clock at night. Now, I had asked my 8-year-old to ignore her friend messaging her late at night. And of course, that was just too big an ask for an 8-year-old. So of course, when I went into her room at like 9:45 and she still wasn't asleep and her phone was, you know, and I felt guilty because I thought, you know, she shouldn't be on her phone, and it's my fault because I'd given her that responsibility that she was too little for. So
but it was one night, and what you did is you tested the waters, and then you discovered actually she's not responsible enough, she's a bit too young, that's not going to work, and then changed it. For me,
but it didn't stop that feeling of guilt. But
if I said that same story, you would have said to me what I just said to you.
Yeah, exactly.
And you'd be like, "It's ridiculous."
Even the guilt doesn't go away. You just have to try and frame it and learn from it, and
yeah,
you know.
I've really learned over the last year, failure doesn't exist. There's only one thing in the world that's failure, and that is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different outcome. Trying something, going, that didn't work, and then changing it and trying something different, that's not failure. That is learning. That's how everything works. We don't expect the kids to go to school on day 1 and be able to write the alphabet and write their name. We don't even expect them to be able to write their name the first time they try it, or the second, or the third. So why we expect to be able to do something new or try something new and it's going to work the first time, and the people that especially the women that we hold up, the ones that have tried different things and seen what's worked and then keep doing that and are consistent about it. But we, like, no disrespect to the people that are successful, but actually most people are capable of it. Just we stop ourselves because of the guilt or this or that.
Yeah, or we stop trying as well, don't we? We sort of try a few things and we get disheartened. I suppose that's the value of coaching, isn't it? So that's what I've found in terms of, you know, coaching over the last, since starting my business, I've like jumped on every bit of coaching and stuff that I can get, because, you know, you do have to try things and you will not succeed at one thing and you have to try again. But at the same time, if you've got someone guiding you so that the process is efficient as possible, so, you know, you're getting from A to B, you know, with as few setbacks as possible, then it's more motivating, isn't it, to keep going. And also you stay on the right track and you've tapped into an expert that can help you, because we're not all born experts in everything and you can't be good at everything all the time. So because that's what I find, because it's a bit of an oxymoron with sleep though, because with kids' sleep, the more different things you try and find the right thing, the harder it might be to get to the right thing. So sometimes just knowing exactly what direction to go in can be easier. But yeah, you're right. If you keep doing the same thing, you're going to have the same result.
Yeah, but there are so many people, especially in business, that just keep doing the same thing and the same thing and the same. And I see the same posts, and I see, and when I say, because I'm always saying to people, you should be checking your the ins and outs, I call it, but you know what I mean, on Facebook, for example, and see, right, that post went well this week, post worked well next week. What have they got in common? What is it that I'm tapping into with my successful post? What's working? And the ones that didn't, have they got something in common? Why aren't they working? People don't just do that. They just churn out the same stuff, and it's super frustrating.
I thought it was so funny yesterday. Do you know, we were talking about, and I was saying, I've got someone to help me with my social media for my business. And then in the same breath, and I was like, and I've set up an Instagram account for my dogs.
I don't have time to do my own social media, but I'm all over my dog's social media. Yeah, that did make me laugh. But I think we all have different stuff that works for us. And there are other people that would have said that, and I would have thought, right, you just don't like doing it yourself, but you don't mind generally doing it, so you're just trying to pay someone to come in and do something you don't really want to do. But actually, your explanation made sense. For like, when you say you go to loads of networking, you do loads of courses, but I can see from the outside that you use what you learn, you implement it, and you change stuff. But there are other people that they said to me, I'm networking 2 or 3 times this week and I've got this course, blah, blah, blah. And I would think, you're just spending the money as a way of avoiding doing the stuff.
Yeah.
So what each of us do doesn't necessarily, isn't the same outcome, and it's mindset that makes the difference. Like, you've got what a lot of people are lacking, and I think it's a key to everything. I think you've got a point in mind that you want to get to.
Oh yeah.
And you're chucking everything at getting there. But there are other people who are just like, I just want to do well. And it's very hard to stay motivated by some vague idea of doing well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think, really,
and I think as well, you've just got to realize your limitations, and you've got to realize that you can't be all things to all people. And I think that's part of like the coaching I've had, and the fact that, yeah, just when you see a successful business person, it doesn't mean that they have become brilliant at everything themselves. They've probably had a really good coach that said to them, this is what you're good at, this is what you could be doing, and then, do you know what, outsource this other stuff, because, you know, the amount of time and effort it will take you to become as good as you need to be, you've actually probably it's easy getting somebody in to do it. So that was my thought process behind it, was just that, you know, the amount of time I was spending on it and throwing it together, and it still didn't look great, and I still wasn't getting enough out there, and all that stuff. I'm still going to write the content, I'm still going to be in charge of it, but it's just somebody doing the technical side of things that makes it run more smoothly.
And it sounds like the headspace that it'll free up from you stressing out about not doing it is even more than just the time you'll save from somebody else doing that little bit of finishing off.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
And if that's the case, then you shouldn't feel bad about it. There's learning, like exactly what you said, learning, right, this is what I'm good at in business, this is what I'm going to make my money at, and actually this stuff here I might not be great at, but I'm going to give it to someone else to do. That to me is a marker of a successful businesswoman. Coming back to the guilt thing, a lot of people go, oh, I've still got my job, so I'm not really a proper business person. And I'm like, realizing that something you've just started, being aware that that's not going to make you the whole amount of income you need right now, and keeping on a job so that your income stays at a certain level, what's more business minded than that? Do you know what I mean? And for some reason they need to kind of chuck it in and not have the income, because they need that, right, I've got to make it work now, and that's what works for them, and that's fine. But there's just all these kind of ideas about, if I'm not doing it this way, if I'm not doing that way, I'm not right, or it's not good enough, and it's not. And it's like, if it works for you, if you've got the income that you want and you're creating the lifestyle that you want, it doesn't matter if that's never worked for anybody else ever. Who gives a stuff?
Exactly.
Yeah. And we worry far too much about what other people think. I was in this group the other day, it was literally about 50 people all chatting about on like a post on Facebook, all commenting about, I haven't done a live because what people are going to think. And I lost it the other day. I was like, I used some stars in the word that I'm about to use stars in. And I basically said, if someone's watching you, if you see a bit of content you don't like, you walk on, right? That's because you're a decent human being. If what you do is comment on it and troll the person, then you're an a-hole, space, and left space. And if you are going to spend your life and let your success be held back by people like that, then you're not ready for it. And that's how I always treat. I've never had a troll yet, which I'm very annoyed about. But really, who sits about making mean comments? That's just not somebody that you can let affect.
Yeah, and I think in some cases, so for example, what I do can in some mummy circles be quite controversial. And, you know, so sometimes I think, you know, but I don't care, I put myself out there, you know, and if somebody wants to, you know, because I did it once and somebody said, oh, I don't agree with it and it was detrimental to me and blah, blah, And I sort of turned, you know, and I thought, well, you're entitled to your opinion and everything, but at the same time, you know, I'm helping hundreds of families, you know, all the time. So, you know, you're entitled to your opinion, and I'm entitled to mine. But the thing is, I couldn't do my job. I couldn't do this job if I wasn't ready for those haters, you know. So it's kind of, you've got to stand behind your product or stand behind your service and realize that it's not going to be for everyone. And you know, you are maybe going to ruffle some feathers, but they're not your tribe, they're not your customers. You know, that's kind of their opinion. And how you respond will make a difference to how your tribe feel about you, but that's kind of a bit different. But yeah, I've just been getting myself out there, and if people don't like it, you're right, they're not your customers, they're not your tribe. But people have to identify with me and like me. So you know, they're trusting me with their little person. So it's kind of important. And it's the same with you. You know, it's like, you know, people are not going to want to work with you if they don't know what they're getting in advance, you know.
Well, I had a bit of a realization recently, because I always joke about my brand being a hot mess, right? And I have a lot of things tied up in my brain that are all negative to do with my weight, loads of them, right? And I literally went into my wardrobe the other day and I pulled out everything that I would not wear if my size wasn't an issue, clothing that I don't actually like, right? Every single bit of it. And thought, I'm just putting that out. So I literally have like 2 shirts and 2 pairs of trousers in my whole house now. They are all on my bed getting sold on eBay. I'm actually going to be the eBay queen. I'm making a fortune at the moment. I'm just selling everything for like a quid. Selling it all, don't want it. And said, that's not how I'm going to be who I want to be, not who I want to be at my weight. And I've been trying to lose weight for years, and I've actually lost 9 pounds in like 3 weeks without trying, because I'm not being like, I've just not got the weight thing in my head anymore. And I've now started buying myself loads of clothes, 2 sizes smaller than I currently am. And I don't want to be hot mess. I want to be Michelle Obama. I do not want to be hot mess. Hot mess is not. And actually, my daughter said to me, who's 19, I've known that you were wearing clothes that you didn't like for ages. And I'm like, well, you next time tell me. But you really do. We've all got something that's making us be not who we necessarily want to be, and you just need to get rid of it. And also, it's hard with what I do. There are so many people that do different things. That are successful, really successful. It's easy to go, oh, I should be like that. If I was like that, then I would be successful like she is. And I'm the first person to say you shouldn't be doing that, but it is hard not to do it. And I've done that a couple of times and found myself reading my posts thinking that doesn't even sound like me. And especially when the thing we can't mention happened, my total preset to everything is optimism. But I felt really bad trying to post. I think it came up before in a networking thing, and you're one of the people that said just get on with it.
But then you're right, posts won't sound like you if they're not got that slant. Yeah. I felt coming back to guilt. I felt guilty being put on optimistic stuff out there when I'm sitting in a village where we've had, I think, 1 possible case. My husband his business is a essential business, it's classed as, so he is allowed to go out to work. The kids, I've got 3 children. He's away at uni, but that's normal, so it doesn't feel like, oh, he's away and I can't see him, and the other 2 are at home safe. And I felt guilty saying, don't worry, everything will be fine, because there are people who've lost people, there are people who can't go to work. And I was just not posting instead, and I thought, I've just got to be positive, because that's me, and that's just, I can't do the other stuff. I don't have it in me, and my natural thing is to say we'll all get through this, and I know unfortunately it won't be all of us that get through it, but I think we've got to kind of all hold hands and go, we will get through it the best we can, as good as we can. And I can't, and that was guilt as well. And it's almost like, I don't think it's just me, I think guilt is almost like a preset. So if something bad happens, that's where we go straight away. That's where we go. But then that's because there's so many expectations of us.
Mhm.
Do you know, and but then it depends on your level of being a people pleaser as well. Do you know, it's like your own personality plays a huge part. You know, there's some people who just, you know, whether it's their family or their friends or, you know, people they don't know, they feel the need to get some validation or you know, whatever from them, or to know that they've pleased them or they've done the right thing. And then when they haven't, you know, they feel they've done the wrong thing, you know. And there is a lot of pressure out there of doing the right and the wrong thing, and, you know, but I suppose there are some things from a safety point of view, but otherwise, you know, very little can go wrong sometimes when you've done the wrong thing.
I think really at night time when we go, I mean, I don't think that there's anyone that does not get the guilt sometimes. But I think really what you have to do is when you're going to bed at night, say to yourself, did I do my best? And obviously some days your best is going to be way better than other days, but did I do my best? And you would never expect more than their best from your husband or your best friend or your child. So not to expect more than your best from yourself. And if you're consistently saying, I didn't do my best, then yes, you need to look at that. But if you're always saying, actually, I did what was my best today, then you can't stop the guilt. But I think almost doing that at nighttime for me makes me go, right, I did do my best. Right, I can put my head down, go to sleep and wake up, and I'm not waking up with that still in my head of, oh.
Do you know that whole thing about, you know, the affirmations or the what went well or the things I'm proud of today or the things that have been good? I started doing that for a while and that worked really well. I don't know why I stopped, but I might go back to that actually. You know, you're just writing 3 things down that, you know, were positives out of the day, things you're proud of, or, you know, things that went well or things you want to repeat. Because I think it's my personality, but I'm not someone to dwell on something. Do you know, I'm just like, right, what did I do different, and let's move on. But it's not that easy for everybody, and our heads are all swirling just now. So
we do worst, best and funniest at the dinner table. So you have to say your worst thing that happened, your best thing, and the funniest. And it's actually really good because I've got a 13-year-old and a 19-year-old. And at 13 and 19, sharing about how they're feeling is not an automatic thing. But they kind of forget that's what they're doing when we're having the worst, best, funniest conversation. So I get a lot out of them. And that's kind of the time when I actually find out how they're really feeling. Because it's right now they'll go, yeah, I'm fine. And you don't want to push. Are you sure you're fine? Because you're thinking, well, maybe I'll make you not fine by pushing. But it's a really brilliant way. I love it. And they just kind of totally will open up, and I find out so much gossip about my children as well from the other one who's dropping them in by telling me the other one's worst. Oh, was it not when such and such happened? Or you broke your laptop or blah, blah, blah. So
that's brilliant.
And I love that. And I look forward to it. And saying your worst out loud, as you say it, you think to yourself, well, actually, that wasn't really that bad. Do you know what I mean? It seemed like when I broke my laptop a couple of days ago, I thought it was the worst thing ever. And at this point, I'm like, look, I've been, and I'm lucky enough that I was able to go and get paid for another one, and it's coming. So really, in the grand scheme of things, it's a pain in the backside. But we're all still okay. And I'm hoping that this situation right now means that we all feel like that a bit more, because I'm certainly appreciating, like, never did I think B&M home bargains once a week on a Sunday would be something I really look forward to. And I'm hopefully going to keep, I literally get, in the morning I wake up and I bounce out of bed and my husband's like, oh, it must be B&M day. So I think we have been chatting for ages at this point.
Have we? Yes. Well, yeah, probably. And we're busy people.
You've got Instagram to go and look at for an hour, you know.
I need to go post some pictures of my dogs. Yeah, so I hope you're following it. Hamish loves Hetty. Just for anyone else.
Right, I will follow it, but you should be honoured because I have just had a big Instagram clear out because for some reason I was following a lot of Australian people. So I don't know why.
What, just so you can watch them lounge about on the beach and swim in the ocean and just have an awesome time?
Yeah, I don't know. Every one of these things I've signed up for something that I had to follow people and I've forgotten about it, but never mind.
Right.
Anyway, it was lovely to catch up with you. And
yeah, you too.
yeah,
And
you're looking
I'll
fab.
see you. I'll see you tomorrow. I seem to be catching up with you most days this week.
No, you'll see me on Thursday, I think.
That's it, Thursday, yeah. What did I say
Anyway.
about getting organised? Right.
Speak to you soon.
All right, take care.
Bye.